dearly. We are so glad you join us on the podcast. I am host Jimmy, this is Kelly, and today we're doing Book of Romans.
I have been working on something very big.
Can I ask, Jimmy, where you're from?
Welcome. Me, I'm from Romania. Because we're doing Romans. Hashtag segue. Hashtag not about Romania, but it got you curious. I bet you asked the question, Mr. Mrs. Scholar out there, and you went, wait, is it written to people in Romania? False. And if you believe that, you clearly need this episode because this is about the book of Romans.
You know, your Romanian accent
sure sounds like someone from former Soviet Union.
Yes, and also sounds close to your Greek persona.
It sounds very close to Hercules.
That's right.
My alter ego, and also a little bit like Gru.
Yes.
From Despicable Me 1, 2, 3, or 4. That 5-hour energy is doing something, gang.
Is that our new sponsor?
Yes,
5-hour energy.
Brought to you by. That's not it. I think I threw it across the room before we pressed record.
Oh, guys.
Welcome back.
We're so glad you're here, and I am so glad, Jimmy, that you have an outlet for all your crazy accents here on the podcast.
That's right.
Because, that is something that genuinely brings you a lot of joy, is cultivating different accents.
That's right.
Fun fact number 127 about Jimmy. But we are, in all seriousness, getting into
Romans.
one of the, can you really call something one of the best books in the Bible?
You know
That
what I will
feels
say
like-
about Romans? And I will say several things, but one of them is I think it is the third. I think it's the greatest book in the New Testament, maybe the greatest book in the Bible, but I think it's the third most feared book, most intimidating book of the New Testament.
Of the New Testament. Oh.
I think it's I think it comes in third. I think it gets the
what's
bronze
first and
medal.
second?
Do you want to? You guess. Well, if Romans is third is,
Okay.
it's the third most intimidating.
Most intimidating or most feared?
Most intimidating.
Okay, well, Revelation beats it out.
Yep.
That one's up there, and I would
That's
say
that's gonna be my number 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's your number 1?
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Most intimidating?
To your average Christian coming to the New Testament, because I think here's why Revelation did number 1.
Hebrews?
There it is.
Oh, I love Hebrews so much.
I didn't say
but
it's not lovable.
Complex because of all of the
You've got to know some stuff.
Melchizedek and
You got to know. You got to know your Leviticus.
Okay, yeah,
and
fair.
Revelation
Fair.
has the edge on Hebrews in that who doesn't want to read about dragons and warlocks? There's no warlocks.
There is no warlocks.
but,
False
but,
news. Fake news.
But it's it's got enough intrigue that they're like, intimidating and schmimidating. I'm going to read it. But I think Hebrews, they're like, dang, I don't know what
is he talking
this guy's
about?
talking about.
Yeah. Well,
But number 3 coming in
Romans.
third.
And you know what? Our job right now is we want to convince you mostly to just read it. Like, we hope that you in this episode going, you know what? That sounds like an amazing book of the Bible, and I want to dive in, and I feel oriented to it, equipped, and I want to dig in. Yeah. That's the goal of today. That's the goal of this episode.
I love this book.
Mm-hmm.
I started listening to... So John Piper preached in the late 90s, early 2000s. He preached through the book of Romans at his church, Bethlehem
Practically
Baptist.
verse by verse.
Yeah, no, literally.
I mean, like,
verse.
sometimes a whole sermon on just a verse.
And for a season, it was on Audible. For one credit, you could download the whole series of Piper preaching for about a decade, this book. And that one credit got you 223 hours of content. And I decided every time I'm going to go for a run, I'm going to listen to it. And I made it 171 hours. and then they took it off Audible. So I have no idea. This is actually going to be just Romans 1 to 13 today. We're not going to talk about the last 3 chapters. I have no idea what happens. But I can't wait to find out.
Great.
He
did do a very deep dive because it's a deep book. I mean, fun fact about me, I'm actually reading through Romans right now, going phrase by phrase.
Yeah, like per day.
Yeah.
One clause a day.
Well, I actually been taking one verse a day and then breaking it up by phrases and just slowing down. And you know, one thing that's been one of my biggest takeaways in doing that is the opening to the book of Romans. Like Paul's opening
salutation
greeting is very long. And my conclusion from spending so much time in that is Paul's about to write, empowered by the Spirit, some of the best theological work that we have in our New Testament, right? But his whole writing leading up to that is, you know what's better is I just would rather be with you in person. Mm-hmm. That there's something so much better than just information transfer. It's being in person with you. That there's something happening in the community and fellowship of believers that's really valuable. And that's just so in the first, 15 verses, he's just talking about how much he wanted to be with these believers in Rome and he couldn't be there. And he's planning to be there so that, you know, they can encourage one another. So it just really, to me, emphasized, even in the opening, how important togetherness is for believers, in-person togetherness, that nothing can beat that.
Truth.
So we're kind of information-y people, information junkies. Just give me the info. It's like, also just go be with God's people at church. And
that's important too.
Really, really important. Okay.
Speaking of salutations, this is the longest, fun fact. This is the longest salutation of all the epistles, of all the letters in the New Testament, boys and girls. You know what number 2 is, Kelly?
No.
The little itty bitty book of Titus.
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Titus.
Okay.
But Paul likes his intros.
So, Paul, just to get us oriented, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what y'all are talking about, we're talking about the book of Romans, 6th book in the New Testament.
Yep.
Right? Did I count that right? The first epistle that's appearing in your New Testament, written by the Apostle Paul to the believers in Rome.
Epistle just means letter. Don't be
That's
scared.
right. Just means letter. And he's writing to a group of believers in the city of Rome, which is why it's called Romans.
Oh, there it is.
Which is interesting, by the way, that all of Paul's letters are titled by his audience, and every other letter in the New Testament is titled by its author.
Oh, look at that. I didn't realize that. You're
John,
right, though.
1st, 2nd John, 1st Peter,
Those
Hebrews,
arrogant guys, unreal.
Hebrews doesn't fall into the same category.
Paul.
But Paul wrote so many letters that it's like they couldn't have 1st
Paul,
2nd Paul, 3rd Paul.
We're reading 13th Paul today.
So they're titled by their audience.
This was written around 57 A.D. He's writing most likely from Corinth. This is his 3rd missionary journey. Just to kind of give you your bearings here. And it actually is, it's, functionally, it's this amazing treatise on the Christian gospel, but it's basically like a missionary support letter.
Yeah.
Because he's writing them to stir up in them a desire to support him as he makes his journey to Spain. He wants to get to Spain to preach the gospel, he says toward the end of that. And so, it's quite, if you're going to write a missionary support letter, it's interesting that you would lead with 16 chapters of just the gospel. But he did. Then at the end, he's like, by the way.
Okay, so Jimmy, answer this. Why, you said, what did you say earlier? Greatest book in the New Testament?
I think it's the greatest book in the Bible.
Okay.
Kelly.
Explain yourself. Give some reasons here.
Well, because it's the most thorough telling of the gospel that you're going to find in the Bible. It's not the most thorough telling of every aspect of the diamond. You wouldn't come to the book of Romans if you wanted a great Christology, a study of Jesus. There are better books for that.
Like?
Colossians is amazing. Philippians, you got you got the famous poem and the Christ hymn in there. Obviously, you have just the Gospels that contain the life of Christ. But Romans is just going to be this really pure treatment of the saving news of the gospel and its implications. It's doing more than that, but it's not doing less than that. So, like, if anybody wants to ever go, okay, I just want to take the deepest dive I could find in like a one-stop shop in the New Testament for like, what is this thing we call Christianity? This would be where you go. I think R.C. Sproul maybe used to call the book of Romans the Christian Constitution, which I think is a good way to frame it. You know, I was trying to think up a tagline for Romans like we do, I was just going to steal his and not credit him, and he's not even alive, so he couldn't like sue me or anything. But you know, I'm outing myself. Okay, I didn't do it. He thought of it. But it really is this sort of manifesto, the Christian Constitution, as it were. And Paul doesn't, pull any punches. He doesn't leave anything out. He is quite thorough. You know, my dad, I've told stories like this before about it, but my dad, who's starting to read the New Testament more and more, he came to me one day and he was like, gosh, that book of Romans, that's a drag. It's like, okay. It's like, I love Acts, but not Romans. But I do think it's true it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Mm-hmm. So, and we might get to that, but it's, it weighs a lot. You know, it's not only is it 16 chapters, so it's already one of the longest of the epistles, if not the longest, but it's just stout. Paul thinks his thoughts pretty thoughtily in this book. Yeah.
So, okay, I agree with that. I think that it's an amazing. He's building a case. He's building a framework for something. It's very methodical. It's very like we're gonna start in one place and make our journey through the implications of each point after point through the book. And I like that about it. Mm-hmm. And it's full of really rich, vibrant imagery, amazing truths. I think that's one of my other favorite things about the book, that you have these pictures of we have been buried with Christ and we've been raised to newness of life. Like there's these, we're talking about theology that for us who don't have Jesus in front of us to touch and feel, we have the news of the gospel. It's helpful that it's full of all of that rich, vibrant imagery for what has transpired in me. Mm-hmm. So I love that about it as well. But you said this isn't everybody's cup of tea. Like, That's can we talk about why? What makes this book a hard book to read and study? What trips people up? When you're reading, what are the things that you're like, this might be hard? Yeah. What are those things, and how can we what do we need to get through that?
Well, we talk a lot on Clearly about the importance of knowing genre and things like that. And it's good to just reiterate, various books of the Bible at various times are doing different things in terms of its literary style. So you have everything in the Bible from narrative to prophecy to law code to poetry to, all of that. And each one of those genres, you just imagine they are attractive in different ways. Some are more obviously beautiful, from the jump than others. Poetry is beautiful by design, right? At a first glance, when you read Psalm 23, you're just taken back by the simplicity and beauty and symmetry and punchiness and imagery and all of that. It's wonderful. Paul is so lawyerly in the way he's presenting things. This is not poetry. There are poetic moments, but it's not poetry. For the book of Romans to give up its beauty to you, it's presenting its beauty not through creative expression and artistic portraits and images. It's giving up its beauty through the beauty of the logic of salvation. Does that make sense? He begins by, at the beginning, the condition of man apart from God, and he works for functionally 8 chapters to unfold the developing crisis of humanity, our need for a savior, the various groups of humanity, like the outright immoral folks and the folks that think they're moral but they're not. And then he's trying to demonstrate through good argument that each group needs redemption, whether they see it or not. How's that redemption going to be achieved? It's going to be achieved in a savior. But this savior doesn't just pardon us willy-nilly, because God has a righteousness that needs to be vindicated, and so he can't wink at sin. How do you pardon sinners but still maintain the fact that you take sin seriously? So you get chapter 3. We're only in chapter 3 with all these words. Chapter 3, and you go, oh, the reason he can pardon sinners and still take sin seriously is because he took on the wrath himself. So he became, like chapter 3 says, both just and the justifier of one who has faith in Jesus. And that's just like one part of one fragment of one argument in the book. And when you see it, and when you wrestle with his developing thesis and the logic behind it, you're blown away, but you don't get there at a glance. This is not an at-a-glance book. This is a 223-hour sermon type of book.
Right.
And so it demands a certain rigor for the gold in this book is about 300 feet down. And you need to take the time and have enough pickaxes to make it down there.
Right.
And that's not everybody's, especially in our culture, not our greatest strength. Patience, devotion, long-suffering, critical analysis.
Logic.
The logic. Those are not necessarily everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah. So, okay, I wanted to ask you this because you're a great logician. Is that the right word?
It's pronounced magician. I've been practicing for years.
Logician. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Which occasionally, especially early on in our marriage, wasn't, I have to say it because it's funny, was sometimes challenging, because I'd be like, you don't love me. And you're like, well, logically.
But the definition of love is...
I did, X, Y, Z, therefore. And I was like, fine, I'm wrong. No.
I will prove to you with this chart that I love you.
That's right. You took philosophy classes in college because they were
the worst.
fun for you?
I am the worst.
No, I really love this about you, and I've learned a lot from you about how to make right connections with my own thoughts. But I don't think it's a skill that we all naturally have. It's something that we do have to grow in, to not just be led by how we feel. I feel condemned, and God must not love me. It's like, that doesn't make any logical sense. And Romans is kind of an answer to that. Nope. Logically, you don't have a reason for God to love you. But then he did this, and therefore this, and that means this, and that there's no more condemnation for you, and you are his child. It's like he's logicking you.
I just got logicked.
Into
faith,
the truth.
No,
into the truth. Because I think I want to talk about this because I think this is a reason that people do struggle with the book, because we're not used to an argument being built, a case being made. Some of us like it more than others. You like it in some ways just by how God wired you, but not everybody does. But it's actually, I think, an important skill that all of us need, especially as believers who aren't yet with God in person. We are with him by his Spirit, but it's not yet sight, right? We still walk by faith, and we still wrestle with sin and Satan. And so because of all those things, we live very tumultuous lives. Paul says that in a later letter in Galatians, right? That we are spirit and flesh are waging war against each other. And I think because of that, we need strong, sturdy thoughts that can stand up to our feelings and say, no, you might feel condemned, but this is true. And let me give you evidence, proof. It's like a lawyer in a court going, you might feel like you're guilty, but can I kind of map it out for you? Can I pull up a map? I'm thinking about a lawyer presenting evidence in a case. In some ways, Paul's doing that. I think that that's why this book matters. I think people tend to run to it and cling to it when they begin to need it, when they begin to feel condemned by their conscience, doubt their salvation. Am I right with God? I don't know. That's when Romans becomes really precious. So the logic of it, the methodicalness of it is actually a great gift to us for, I think, all those reasons. All that to say, Jimmy, you're really good at that. Help us out. Help somebody out who's not used to thinking that way. How do we read a book like this that's very much built in that way, that it's making a point? Are there any tools or tips you can give for, like, when you're reading something this logical and methodical, here's some tools for you as you're reading, maybe things to pay attention to? I don't know. That would be helpful.
Yeah. There's different kind of things to say. One of the things that came to mind as you were talking was, I think maybe just a good place to start for somebody who's not predisposed to like follow an argument, and the if-thens and the therefores, if that doesn't light you up. A lot of times I find that my brothers and sisters in the faith who are more feelers tend to maybe have not an allergy to this, but it can feel less spiritual to do the logical work of following Paul's argument in Romans. But I think it's good for us as Christians to doubt the assumption that because something takes rigor and thought, that somehow it's less spiritual. There was there's been a turn over the past maybe 150 years, especially in American Western thought, away from sort of the critical analysis of God's word to the more experientialism. You started seeing it kind of pop up in the Second Great Awakening. You started seeing it show up even in some of early Methodism's emphasis on experience as a type of authority in a Christian's life that communicates truth. So that sort of pivot has been happening for the past 150 years or so, that I think has given some Christians the impression that, the height of what the Christian life should be is a very feely, soupy, I got an impression thing from the Lord, and that is the most stable truth out there. And so to come to a 16-chapter argument feels like, where's God in this? I experience God through the flip open Bible method, and I put my finger down and a verse jumps out at me, and that speaks to me. And it's not that God can't speak in all kinds of ways, but I think we just need to be skeptical of the voice that says, no, God wouldn't use a long, lengthy, logical argument. He just wants me to be struck with the Spirit. It's like, well, maybe, but clearly Romans exists, so clearly that's not the only thing he wants to do with you, because you will not get what you need unless you reason.
So knowing that type of intellectual study for a book is not less spiritual.
It's not less spiritual.
Not less valuable to our souls.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's helped me, that I've really learned a lot from you when it comes to a very logical, methodical book like Romans, is to pay attention to the so that's and the therefore. The connecting words in this book really matter. And so making sure you have a list of those things, which will include a bookmark in the show notes that we love called The Art of Noticing, that's just to help you notice things in the Bible, but it has a list of all the connecting words you might see and what type of connecting word they are, that they're connecting.
What they do in a sentence.
They're connecting words like but or however that are words of contrast that obviously are taking two phrases and making them, here's how they're different. And you have words like and, which are similar. So it's like a list of words, what they exist to do and how they connect thoughts. And sometimes just to pay attention to that. We both generally, when we see those words, will box them in our Bible, and it becomes a visual cue for like, that is significant. Therefore, so that, because, so. And it can help your brain start to go, okay, how are these things connected? Sometimes I also will draw out Paul's arguments to help myself see it off the page and go, okay, first, circle number 1. First, he said this.
Yep.
Second, he said that, draw an arrow or something, therefore this, not that. It just helps me to essentially take the same information. I'm not doing anything but kind of recopying it in a different way visually for myself to be able to start to make sense of how do these things connect? What's the logical flow here?
That's just good Bible study. Yeah, that's good.
And I think it helps in books like Romans to find ways to do that. If you're finding yourself getting lost in a long paragraph, you're like, I don't know what that says, then start to box some connecting words and start to maybe take it outside of the Bible and rewrite it in a way that'll help you understand.
By the way, this is a great little sales pitch too for like why certain Christians are so amped up about things like, maybe you haven't heard these words before, but things like textual criticism or the manuscript traditions of the, the New Testament, and how do we know we have the original words, and, learning Greek and things like that. I think a lot of us are like, dude, what? Who cares? But it's like, well, if the word therefore is going to determine what Paul means when he's explaining the gospel, then we better be sure that therefore was there
Right.
in the original years ago,
manuscript,
and not just imported in the Middle Ages. So these guys that you maybe see coming across some of your feeds, like Wes Huff, just kind of showed up on the scene for a lot of us, who's kind of like in that ancient Near Eastern textual manuscript stuff. He was on Joe Rogan recently, which is kind of amazing. And all these places, they're doing really important work. Dan Wallace, who is my Greek professor in school, he's like the leading expert on Greek New Testament manuscripts. These guys are doing really important work, and the book of Romans helps me go, oh, this is why. Because
every word matters.
So that, and that, however, really matters.
Right.
If it's in an argument that's explaining the most important news in the world.
Right.
So we better be sure that this book is right. Yeah.
Every generation needs scholars in the original languages.
That's right.
Every generation does. It's not going to be all of us, but we all need it to be somebody. So, okay. So there's some hard things in here too.
No.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to go there.
Yeah, we can. There's so many amazing things, and a lot of the hard things are the amazing things for me. Yeah. But, the challenge of studying a really long argument is, one of the leading things that keeps us out of it. Romans 9 is one of the other things that's going to keep lots of us away from this book. Romans 9, we've been there a number of times, and clearly.
That's right. We'll link some of those episodes where you dealt with that in it. But at the end of the day, our encouragement to you is always talk like the Bible talks, think like the Bible thinks. Yeah. Don't ignore it or redefine it. That's good for every part of the Bible. Don't just move past it really quick. God put it there for a reason. And don't change the obvious plain meaning on the page.
That's right.
And Romans 9 is included. There are lots of other Old Testament passages. I tell people that as well, but... And New Testament, you got all sorts of stuff in the New Testament, but this is one of those chapters.
That's right.
But again, it comes on the heels of the most amazing news in the world, Romans 8. So it's like, it is not right for us to read our favorite chapter. For example, if we read Romans 8 and go, okay, that's good. It's like, nope, there's chapters 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, there's more to read here.
Which again, reading. I have no idea what the end of it says because
That's right. One day you'll get there and it'll be great and we'll come back.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah.
Well, so at the end of the day, my last sales pitch to you, if you're kind of kicking the tires on the book of Romans and going, do I want to take the deep dive, is, if you've got curiosity around things like, how did I get saved? How does this whole thing work? How do I belong to him? And you want like let me pop the hood and show you, you come to Romans. You want to understand the relationship between Jew and Gentile. We got this whole other huge section of our Bible called the Old Testament. It's 2/3 of this big Bible book, and I don't get how it connects to this New Testament. Romans is going to do a lot of heavy lifting to explain the relationship there. Like, what does Abraham have to do with me? What does Moses have to do with me? If you've ever had questions about why am I saved and my friend isn't saved, Romans is going to give you a under the hood look of that too. So many things that we really care about as thoughtful Christians is tackled right here in this book, and it's really profound. It won't give up its treasure easily, but if you'd be willing to go like, you know what, I'm going to take this month. And I'm just going to say this month is my Romans month, man. And there's 16 chapters. So that's what, you could do one chapter every 2 days, just munch for 2 days on one chapter and just work your way through. That would be such a great exercise for you. And I promise you, you'll come to the end of it just with so much, not just insight, but as the Spirit illuminates, I think your affection for Jesus is just going to be huge. It's going to light you up in some really wonderful ways. Or you're going to hate it. In which case I would say just, repent and you're wrong. Is that fair?
It's fair.
Great.
I do hope you read the book of Romans in a month, that you'll take the time to do that and read a chapter every 2 days. And as you do, we've created a one-pager for you that will help you. It is a one-pager. It's one page front and back that you can print out at home, fold in half, and it's just going to give you the structure of the book of Romans. It's going to give you some ways to dig into the details there. It's going to give you some ways to connect it to Christ. It's awesome. It's not going to do the work for you, but it's going to give you some handlebars, some things to do as you read.
Some pickaxes.
Some pickaxes. There you go. So go find that. You'll find it in the show notes. And again, if you, I was going to talk about something else.
Good talk.
If you want to be a part of these recordings in real time, we have our partner team with us right now on Zoom, and we love doing these episodes with them. We have conversations in and around the episodes. We do giveaways. You can join us and be part of the team by going to patreon.com. Search Jimmy and Kelly Needham. We'd love to have you next time.
I like it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, you crazy kids.
Where's Greek Jimmy?
Until next time, you crazy kids. We'll see you later.
It's very Gru.